Emma stayed several steps behind him as he moved quietly through the hospital corridors. The wheels of his cleaning cart squeaked softly against the floor. Outside the windows, rain tapped gently against the glass. Most of the hospital was asleep now. Only the emergency room still felt alive. The deeper Mr. Hale went into the building, the quieter everything became. No nurses, no visitors, no voices, just the hum of old fluorescent lights above them. Emma suddenly realized where they were heading. The West Wing. Almost nobody used that part of the hospital anymore. Most of the rooms there belonged to long-term patients, people who had been sick for months, sometimes years, people whose visitors slowly stopped coming. Mr. Hale finally stopped outside room 307. Emma quickly stepped behind a corner before he could notice her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, she heard knocking. 3 soft knocks against a door. Mr. Hale's voice came next, quiet, gentle, completely different from the silence everyone knew. "Evening, Miss Lorraine." A week-old woman answered from inside the room. "You're late tonight." "I know," Mr. Hale said softly. The floors were a mess. Emma frowned. She had never heard him speak like that before. There was warmth in his voice, real warmth. A few seconds later, she carefully peeked around the corner. Mr. Hale was sitting beside the old woman's bed. One of the books from his cart rested in his hands. The patient looked painfully thin. An oxygen tube rested beneath her nose, but she was smiling. Emma had worked in this hospital for almost 2 years, and she had learned something difficult during that time. Many patients stopped smiling near the end, especially the lonely ones. But this woman looked genuinely happy. Mr. Hale opened the book slowly. "Where did we stop last night?" The woman pointed weakly toward the pages. "The part with the little girl in the garden." "Ah," he said quietly. "That's a good chapter." Then he began reading, and Emma froze. His voice changed again. It became calm, warm, almost comforting, like someone reading to a child during a thunderstorm. Outside the room, Emma stood completely still. The rain continued tapping softly against the hospital windows, and for the first time since she started working night shifts, the hospital no longer felt cold. Mr. Hale turned another page carefully. The old woman closed her eyes as she listened, not sleeping, listening, as if the story mattered more than the machines beside her bed. Emma suddenly felt guilty. She remembered every conversation in the break room, every joke, every cruel assumption. And the worst part was this: Mr. Hale probably knew what people said about him, but he still came here every night anyway. The old woman coughed weakly. Mr. Hale immediately stopped reading. "You all right?" She nodded slowly. "You always do the voices better than the television." Mr. Hale smiled a little beneath his gray beard. "I'll take that as a compliment." The woman gave a tired laugh. Then something else caught Emma's attention. On the small table beside the hospital bed, there were no flowers, no cards, no family photos, nothing. The room looked empty, except for one thing: a stack of books, all worn from use, all carefully arranged beside the bed. Mr. Hale noticed the woman growing tired, so he gently closed the book. "We can finish tomorrow night." The old woman looked disappointed. "You promise?" "I promise." She slowly reached for his hand, and when she spoke again, her voice became very quiet. "You're the only person who still talks to me." Emma felt something twist painfully inside her chest. Mr. Hale lowered his eyes for a moment. Then he squeezed her hand gently. "I'll see you tomorrow, Miss Lorraine." He stood up carefully, picked up the book, and turned off the brighter lights in the room, before leaving only the small lamp near her bed, glowing softly in the darkness. Then he stepped into the hallway. Emma quickly moved back behind the corner before he could see her. Her heart was beating strangely fast now. But the night wasn't over yet, because room 307 was only the first stop. Emma waited until Mr. Hale disappeared farther down the hallway before quietly following him again. The old janitor pushed his cart slowly through the silent west wing. One hand rested on the books, almost protectively. The hospital felt different now. Not haunted, not empty, just sad. Like a place full of people waiting for something that might never come. Mr. Hale stopped at room 312 next. Before entering, he looked down at a small notebook attached to his cart. Emma noticed names written carefully across the page, room numbers beside them. Some had little check marks, others had stars. It looked almost like a schedule, but not a work schedule, something more personal. Mr. Hale knocked gently. A weak voice answered, "Come in." This time Emma moved closer, close enough to hear without being seen. Inside the room was an elderly man sitting upright in bed. His hands trembled slightly. An untouched dinner tray sat beside him. The television played quietly in the background, though the man wasn't watching it. Mr. Hale picked up another book from the cart. "Still awake, Mr. Bennett? Couldn't sleep?" "Well," Mr. Hale said softly, "maybe tonight's chapter will help." The old man smiled faintly. "You know," he whispered, "you don't have to keep doing this for us." Mr. Hale pulled a chair beside the bed. "I know." "Then why do you?" There was a long pause. Emma leaned closer. For a moment, Mr. Hale simply stared down at the book in his hands. Then he answered quietly, "Because nights are long when you're alone." The old man looked at him silently, and somehow that answer felt heavier than anything else Emma had heard all night. Mr. Hale began reading again. Another story, another calm voice filling another lonely room. Emma slowly looked around the hallway. Room after room stretched into darkness. Some doors remained shut, others were slightly open. And through those small openings, she noticed something heartbreaking. Patients listening, not sleeping, listening. An old woman with her eyes closed peacefully. A man staring toward the hallway quietly. Someone turning down the volume of their television. They were waiting for his voice. Emma suddenly realized this had probably been happening for years. While doctors changed shifts, while nurses rushed through paperwork, while families slowly stopped visiting, the old janitor had continued showing up every single night. Not because anyone asked him to, not because it was his job, but because somebody had to. Emma felt ashamed again. She thought about how invisible he had become to everyone, including her, especially her. About 20 minutes later, Mr. Hale left room 312 quietly. He looked exhausted now, older somehow. As he pushed the cart farther down the hallway, Emma noticed him rubbing one hand against his chest for a moment before continuing forward. Then he suddenly stopped walking. Emma froze. For one terrible second, she thought he had caught her following him. But instead, Mr. Hale looked toward room 318. The door was closed, no light beneath it. He stood there silently for several seconds. Then he slowly removed one of the books from his cart. a very old one. The cover was faded blue cloth. The edges looked worn from years of use. He held it carefully, almost gently. Then he whispered something so quietly, Emma almost missed it. "I know you liked this one." And suddenly, Emma realized he was talking to someone who wasn't there anymore.